Hello and welcome to Fin Business. Today we have a very special guest with us whose name is Ralph Echemendia, and he is an ethical hacker. Ralph, welcome on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. My pleasure.
So the first question to you is ethical hacking a biggest counter attack to the cyber crimes?
It's not necessarily to say ethical hacking. I mean, ethical hacking is a term that's sort of been created to say, using the same skills, using the same tools as the hacker does, the legal hacker, the not so ethical hacker, to test. It's mainly security testing, the systems. But that isn't necessarily the only means to the end. There really is no end in the issue of cybersecurity. I think the concept or the idea that you can be protected is a fallacy. I think the real issue is a matter of being more aware. So doing the testing is only one aspect of it, but there's still a lot of other things. There's a lot of value in the analysis of traffic and having good data analysts, not just for the purpose of advertising data or that kind of thing, but for the purpose of security or safety. I think it's more a matter of safety than it is about security, and more a matter of being resilient to these attacks. You can't stop it from happening, but what you can do is, if you are good at detecting it, then the impact will be less. So time is the element by which impact is going to be. So if you find out that you've been hacked 5 minutes later, the impact is going to be far less than if you find out 500 days later.
Right. So looking at the financial sector now, where the cyber crimes are really huge, in fact, it's as worst as terrorism, if I put it in that way. And the numbers, I mean, if I'm not wrong, more than 1,000 attacks happening per minute. That's what the study is. That's what the report that you also published some time back. I would like to understand how banks should deal with these attacks. What is the prevention mechanism banks or the financial companies need to adopt? Is it the right way to hire the hackers or the ethical hackers? What are the other ways?
It's a number of things, and yes, doing penetration testing is one of the means. But the problem isn't in just the technology. The bigger problem is the people. We are the weakest link in this security problem. You can address the technology and you can address the processes much easier than you can address the people. So in banking, you have several different issues. Number one, yes, there's the systems and the technology, but then the bigger problems is the employees and the customers. So both of those can potentially lead to a breach. And so you have to be kind of monitoring both. Now we have fraud prevention. A lot of banks utilize fraud prevention rules that are based on behavior. So, if all of a sudden your credit card shows up in another place, it'll be shut down. And that tends to work. But then what happens if an employee is hacked and their access is used to make a transaction take place? Then currently that would look like the employee did it. Right? So that's more of a risk actually than the fraud aspect. I think there's been a lot of innovation in fraud prevention, but not the same kind of innovation exists in the cybersecurity arena of the employee and the company. So the frequency of the frauds, looking at the frequency of the frauds and the number of frauds happening, number of cyber crimes are happening, and the way the banks and the finance institutions are losing the money, do you believe that there is a parallel industry which is our service industry specifically dedicated to cybercrime? Absolutely. It would be difficult to say which one is more lucrative. Because they are both, I wouldn't say equally lucrative, but they're both lucrative. So, cybercrime as a service, as the term that I used, is certainly one that is very lucrative and continues to grow. And in the same space, so does the cybersecurity as a professional space, also continues to grow greatly. So there's no doubt that we're going to continue to see growth in both of those areas over the next couple of years, especially with the world of money changing so drastically into a digital domain.
So the growth in cyber crime, security or service industry will happen with the space of innovation?
Absolutely. I think that both are required for innovation. I think the good, the bad, and the ugly are important in the sense of us, not only in the sense of innovation, but also in the sense of evolution, and how we evolve as human beings and how we ultimately deal with each other, how we communicate with each other, and specifically with banking, how we ultimately transact with each other. So.
Right. So the kind of innovation happening in the financial sector, the banks cannot go away from the digital innovation now, or any finance company for that matter. And the biggest criteria for them is to security, to protect the walls,
Yes.
to control all the firewalls. So if you could tell me what are the basic trends or the major trends that you have seen specifically into cyber crimes or cyber risks in last 1 to 2 years?
Well, obviously, with the rise of cryptocurrency and mainly cryptocurrency, not to take away from blockchain, because blockchain is really the innovation and where the value potentially lives. Cryptocurrency is just its application. So if you think of blockchain more like the utility, think of it like power, and then think of cryptocurrency like the light bulb. It's the use of the power. So cryptocurrency is currently how we see it being used. And obviously there's a lot of crime that's being focused and targeted on cryptocurrency because cryptocurrency was initially used by the cyber criminals first. So obviously they have a longer period of time that they've used it, so they're obviously targeting it, and they understand how to make it a lot less difficult, or much more difficult to forensically track down and identify. So we will continue to see more there. And then there's also all of these scams that are happening with ICOs and so on and so forth. So, whenever you see new technologies arise, always, the scammers are going to figure out how to scam first. And we're seeing the regulatory governments try to adjust to it just the same way, as you mentioned, the banking industry is trying to adjust to it. It's here to stay, and it's new. So they're trying to figure out how the old works with the new.
What are the other areas where you see the cybercrime happening rapidly, or the trends in cybercrimes are really rapid or huge?
Obviously, with social media and quote unquote the generation of fake news and that sort of thing. So it's a matter of misinformation, generally speaking. So we see that a lot more. The Facebook accounts and the Twitter accounts and that sort of thing. And those tend to be the lower hanging fruits because, again, you're dealing with uninformed, non-technical people using them.
One more question on the regulatory aspect. Your regulators from all over the world are really, facing a difficult term because they don't know how to face the rules because of the scams are happening at, rapidly, and scams are more innovative than the innovation that the finance companies are doing. So, do you think it's a big task or a very tough task for the regulators?
Absolutely. I mean, the regulation and in general, the legal process is usually 5 to 10 years behind the technology.
Right.
And so, specifically with what's happening now with cryptocurrency and everything going on in the banking world, obviously that's moving even faster than any other technology that we've seen in the past, where it took a few years for things like email to become normal or normally adopted. We're seeing that in a matter of a year and a half, cryptocurrency is everywhere, and so it is certainly moving at a faster pace than anything that we've seen in the past.
Super. So, short note is scams are here to stay.
Scams will always be here. This is, technology is just a tool.
Right.
It's a hammer.
Yeah.
And you can either use that hammer to make a house or you can use that hammer to kill somebody.
Great.
So it's just a tool. We tend to put the blame on technology, but that's not where the blame should be put. It's really on people than the technology.
Great. Thank you so much for talking to us,
Appreciate it.
Ralph.
Thank you so much.
It was really wonderful talking to you.
Thank you.
Great insights. Thank you so much, Ralph.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for watching.